Welcome to Manage Smarter, everyone. We are so glad that you're here today. I'm Audrey Strong, the Vice President of Communications here at SalesFuel.
And I'm C. Lee Smith, the President and CEO of SalesFuel. And here we are for year 4 of the Manage Smarter show. And this year we're on audio and video. That's exciting.
Very exciting. And hopefully I don't break the camera lens, hopefully it doesn't crack into pieces. But we're so glad.
Hopefully they're looking at you instead of looking at me. So,
And welcome to our guest, Michele Ashby. She's the CEO and founder of ACE LLC, Ashby Consulting Enterprises out of Denver, Colorado. Hi, Michele.
Hi, Audrey. Thank you. And hi, C. Lee. How are you?
It's good to be seen. Yeah, I hope you're well, Michele.
I am. I like your background. That looks so great. I'm jealous.
Audrey did that for me. Yeah.
Okay.
And one's
really
coming for me. I just don't have it yet.
Yeah, it looks great.
Thanks.
Well, thanks. Well, so we've got a great topic today with Michele, women and boards. We have a lot of questions for you. I want to tell you a little bit about Michele, though, everybody. We're so glad that you're here. Focus is on educating, supporting, and teaching women how to attain corporate board positions through her ACE board certification program for women. Michele has a diverse background, including 30 years as a gold specialist and analyst, financial expert, independent corporate director, and successful entrepreneur. You have had so many amazing things going on over the years. It's almost mind-blowing. And you were recently awarded, Michele, one of the top 25 most powerful women in business for Colorado. For your work, you've trained more than 1,000 women to get on corporate boards. So congratulations to you on that.
Thank you. Actually, my goal is to train 1,000 women, and I'm halfway there. This last year really catapulted this up to I'm really close to that 500 mark.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to start kind of general. Lee wanted to start with his question.
Yeah,
Great.
it's, a lot of people, for the uninitiated, is that they only know about what boards do based on what they read in the business section of the newspaper, what they see on TV shows on TV. So what exactly does a board member do, and what does that look like?
So speaking as an experienced board member, I've been on 6 corporate boards, so about 20 years collectively in the boardroom, and we make the biggest decisions. So we have the power over the budgets. We have the power over the strategies. So in a public company, our role is to represent. Actually, it's about 8 different parties. So if we include all the stakeholders, right? It's our customers, it's our workforce, it's our management, executive, our shareholders, our investors, all of our stakeholders, the environment that we're doing our business in, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a tough gig because as you're sitting there considering another decision, you're representing all of those entities. And remember that it's a group decision. You may not agree with everyone, but in the end, it's a group decision. It's not yours.
And we have a lot of sales managers watching on the Sales Experts channel today. And I would imagine then that if you can learn the skills that are required to be an excellent board member, that certainly makes you more promotable into company leadership, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. And I look at it with a lens of leadership characteristics. So when I'm looking for candidates for women that I'm going to train, I want women who have leadership skills. And to me, that's the courage to step into these leadership roles and make those tough decisions and be able to represent in those difficult situations. And so it is a different set of skills. And so it's one of those that as a sales manager, you're going to want to be mentored and, moving up into those other leadership roles. And then what's your passion? That's the other thing, because I have passion that backs up the reason why I do things. And I believe that's why I have been successful throughout my career.
Yeah. You said that only 20% of U.S. boards are women. Do you mean 20% only contain a woman, or are all women?
All women. So there are still a lot of boards out there that have no women on them. And that statistic is, it's like the general for all public companies. For private corporations, we don't have those statistics, just by the way.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because they don't have to report. So their financials are not public, and they don't have to tell us.
Well, Going back, why only 20% of women on board?
Well, to be honest with you, we just started this process recently in the last, there's a photograph that I show to all my groups, which is from 1975, that shows Katharine Graham as the only first female on the board of the Associated Press. And so, it's only in the last few decades that women have started to be invited and appointed to the boardroom. So it's a process, right?
So talk about the certification program. I mean, you said there's 4 different programs and pieces to this. Can you talk a little bit about what a woman who aspires to this might be setting themselves up for?
Yeah. So, there's what I call, board governance. You have to learn that. Financial acumen. And a lot of women go, oh, I don't have finance, so don't pick me. But, only 25% of board appointments are people who are financial experts. So that means 75% of them are not. But regardless, it's really good for you to understand financial statements and know what people are talking about. So we cover financial acumen. The other one is risks and responsibilities. In a public company, of course, there's the opportunity where you could be breaking regulations or out of compliance. So you have to be aware of that. And then the other piece is for women in particular, how to get on a board. So it's really putting together your own playbook as to what companies you're targeting, and then how are you going to go about trying to get on that board.
As a sales manager, it actually gives you a bit of a leg up because you're used to having to make numbers every month, every quarter, and you have to have a certain amount of business acumen then to be able to solve problems for people, through the sales process. So actually, if you're a sales manager, whoever, embrace that actually gives you a leg up because you actually understand and you're comfortable talking about money.
Yeah. And I think, you're hitting on some really good points that are the other characteristics, like sales. As you are so well versed, not everyone is a good salesperson. A good salesperson is also excellent at communication and getting those ideas across. They have to do their homework in order to be able to sell the product that they're going to be selling. They do have to understand the finances because that's going to be the question that people ask them. And they have to, have that pencil sharpened and understand what those nuances are. And so those are all super strong characteristics that will serve a person well who has those skills.
It's not just communicating then with clients or something like that. As once you get into management, being able to communicate internally becomes super important, and even more so when you're a board member, I would assume.
Exactly. So, and then, being able to communicate. What I say is it's a peer-to-peer and it's an executive level, and there's a different language. I call it the executive vernacular. So it's important. That's why, that mentorship from other leaders is so important, because those are the people who can help you, teach you, and get you into that executive role with the correct and acceptable, what I'm saying, kinds of things, because it's a team, right? And there's specific rules right there, but no, there's not a lot of books written around what
rules,
those are.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
We were talking last night on the phone about our interview with you today. And one of the things that we talked about was the misconceptions by the wider public and maybe even business people and our peers about boards, and that it's a patronage appointment and it's my second cousin or the CEO's whatever, twice removed, who has no skill set related at all to the company. And then also the idea of boards being just a rubber stamp for golden parachutes and other things. Can you talk a little bit about how you help your certification candidates separate those type of scenarios going for an organization where it's really set up not in that way?
Right,
properly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is the whole collegiality of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's actually a reason that happens. If I'm starting a new company and I am excited about it and I want to go in a certain direction, I'm going to pick the people I know and people who know me and people who support me. So it usually almost always starts out that way. And then evolves into, okay, now we've grown and we need this other thing. When you go public, you have regulations and you're scrutinized dramatically. So you are being watched, and it is a lot of work. I can tell you that before I go to a board meeting, my board book is typically 185 to 300 pages.
Oh, wow.
that I need to read before I can get into that. And then we do committee meetings before the board meeting. So a lot of the work is done before you ever get in the boardroom. It might be site visits. My background's in mining, so we would do, we'll go to the mine sites and spend a couple of days with everybody. And then we do committee meetings, and then we do, other meetings. And then by the time we get to that agenda at the boardroom, it might be pretty short and sweet, but there's a lot behind it. So many hours that have gone into it before we ever get there. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. But and Lee, we had, to his point yesterday, said, yeah, but what do you do if you finally I've taken your certification, you've helped me network, I get on a board and it's a hostile board. Which is, the CEO
you got one
like,
shareholder or whatever that just is raising hell, and doesn't like the CEO, whatever, wants it, it's the TV drama stuff, right? I mean, how realistic, how often does that actually happen?
Well, of all the boards I've been on and all the years I've been in, I've never had that happen in real life.
Okay.
I think it's rare. I know it does happen, but it's very rare. And typically, you're not going to see just one rogue person. You'll probably see potentially 2 or 3, right? So if we have a disgruntled shareholder, they're going to try and replace 2 or 3 seats on the board because they know they're not going to make an effect with just one person. They need to have some, they need to have some bench, strength there.
Well, that goes to the importance of alliance building, which is like once you're a sales manager, you realize then the importance of building alliances then, with other departments and with key management and everything like that. So, how do you advise people on how to be better skilled at building alliances? What kind of tips could you offer somebody on that?
That's a really good question, because I recognized just this morning that there was a question that came up. I had a board meeting yesterday, and we had a new person on the board meeting who was making a presentation. I realized he probably knew a colleague of mine, actually one of the women who went through my certification. I said, "How do you know her?" And he said, "Oh, blah, 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 blah." And what I realized is this is the executive vernacular question. When when you overhear someone saying something that you know someone or something about, that's the kind of the key question is, "Oh, well, how do you know her?" "I knew her from blah, blah, blah." And that's kind of a subtle key of forming that alliance, because once we see that recognition in each other of that similarity, that checks a trust box. So what you're talking about is the very basic thing of having to have the trust box checked.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we lost Lee, but he'll come back.
Okay.
That's okay.
I wanted him to hear that answer. Because,
oh, well, he'll hear it.
Okay.
We'll keep going. And he'll come back into the room. You say that the gender diversity on boards improves outcomes. What specific outcomes are those, and how does that work?
So the research has shown over the years, and we're gonna continue to see this because it is such a new factor. It's kind of like, when we're dealing with a new virus, we're collecting data as we go along, and we get to learn more as we go along. So return on investment. So there have been studies that have shown that boards that have up to if you have 3 women on your board, that your return on investor is actually the highest. And the last number I saw was like between 17 and 27% better than if you have no women on your board. So that was a Stanford study that was done a while ago. And the other parts that are a little bit harder to measure is retention. It's HR issues. What's the culture like? So culturally within the company, that can be a benefit. So we're trying to measure those things. I believe that the outcomes are better for all the stakeholders. So your executive team, your management team, your employees, your shareholders, all the way, clients, jurisdictions that you're doing business in. I believe that they are, they have better interaction with the company when there are women on the board and helping to make those decisions at the very top.
That makes sense.
Welcome back, Lee. Coaching women then to, yeah, it's good to be back. That was very weird. We had a little bit of a power outage here. So,
wow. Oh, you did?
But we're back. Yeah, it was very bizarre. When you're coaching women on to become board members, are you advising them then to be like the men and get in there and mix it up with the men, and play the same game by the same rules, or are you advising them to do it differently because they're women?
So let's neutralize that a little bit, because we all function in a patriarchal model, and that's just the reality.
Yeah.
And whether they know that or not, I do point that out. And so we know that, we know what that pyramid looks like, right? CEO, and then the C level underneath, and the VPs, blah, 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 blah. And that can be male or female. It's regardless. What I do say is think like a man. Okay. So, and that's more in regards to their confidence. Seeley, because men, here's the research we know. When a man and a woman who are equally skilled and experienced are offered a promotion, the man is much more likely to raise his hand and say, pick me, I'll give it a go, when he has 60% of what he needs to do that job. The woman...
Or less.
Or
right?
less. Oh, see? Yeah. No. So what is the real statistic?
Maybe 20%.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. See, that's really good to know.
Look, you're offering me the job. I'm going to take the job. Then I'm going to figure out how to do it.
Fake it till you make it. Yeah, no.
That's right. The woman is more likely to go, wait a second, I don't have the other skills I need. So, and this is in her brain. She's like, I'm not worthy. I don't have enough, blah, blah, blah. And she stops herself from raising the hand. So what I tell them to do is kind of what you just said, is raise your hand and say, pick me, I can do it better than anybody else. And then you run back and figure out. So what I say to them is, now you have a second voice on your shoulder, and it's Michele Ashby. And she's saying to you, raise your hand and then call me after you get done and we'll get it figured out. And it is a male characteristic. So I do say, think like a man. Like, if you were a man, what would you say to that? So it's really helping to build their confidence, what I call executive level confidence, right? Because I think there's different levels.
Let's say I'm interested in getting certified and enlisting your company, but I don't know if I want to be on a corporate board or a nonprofit board and a Fortune 500 or a startup. How do you help your folks sort out what to expect in any of those scenarios?
Right. Perfect question, Audrey. I only train women for paid, compensated board positions. So you would be on the corporate side, which could be startup, private, or public. Nonprofit, I do not train for. And so here, let's take a look at statistics. 20% of women sit on, what we know, corporate paid boards, right? 80% men. Nonprofit world, probably it's about 80% women and 20% or maybe 10% men. We're doing all the work for free. So let's just switch it and let the guys do the nonprofit work, and we'll take the paid jobs. What do you think?
I think that sounds perfectly good to me. Let's do
Whoever
it.
can do the job best, that's what I'm in favor of. Right there.
I hear you. And women can do it just as well as men. So we can match you.
We've proven that in our company. Yeah, it's like, most of our leadership is female in this company. So it's not unusual. In
terms of, though, what to expect in the actual the work itself, the 300-page binder, am I more risk? Is it more of a high wire act to be on a PepsiCo than a startup? Or startups can be sticky wickets too. I mean, I guess I'm not quite sure what I would expect, but can you get into more trouble with a bigger company? When things go sideways and you're on the board, what to expect?
I think that the basic rules as a director, so your duty of care, your duty of loyalty, those kinds of things are the same, no matter what size, and we teach that. So that comes under your board governance. And, you need to be in integrity. And it's rare that you find people who are not. And of course, then stuff happens. The risk sometimes in a big company is you're so far up, you have no idea what's going on down below. You don't know what's happening within the company, and somebody could really be, poisoning your product, or, and it will surface at some point, but you can't know everything. You do the best you can. But let me back up about what it takes, because people ask me, how much work is this? Is it full-time? Is it part-time? So the requirement for a public company is that you have to have a meeting every quarter for a year, and one annual meeting. So 5 meetings a year. There's committee work and that type of thing. And I tell women, your first year, you're probably going to spend 20 hours a week getting yourself up to speed. If you are a dedicated, you're the person who really wants to get in there. And that 20 hours goes back to building the relationships that we talked about. Mm-hmm. I encourage people to build relationships with the management team, with people in the company, go to the site visits. You've got to invest time, do one-on-one meetings with every director so that they know you mm-hmm. and you get to know them. Really ask your questions at the committee level. You could even do side meetings with the chair of the committees if you want to get more background, because it's a river and it's running and you're just jumping into it. So you got a lot to catch up with that was upstream, right? So there can be a lot of work, but once you settle in, it really is a part-time job. It's a paid job. My mentors, who are all men, I've been mentored by men my entire career in mining and finance for 30 years. I watched them climb the corporate ladder, get on 3 or 4 boards, retire out. They're making 6 figures, playing golf, and they've got stock options. They're set. Their family is set. And that's been my path in my own career. In fact, I was looking for my board number 3 and 4 when I decided to divert and create a program to train other women, because I realized we didn't have that. We didn't have the training, and women didn't understand it. They didn't know what a board was, or
how do I get there? Where do I even start? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We got a few minutes left. It's acellc.consulting. I know that your winter sessions are sold out for people who are interested. When are you going to do your spring sessions?
I'm launching that in probably 1st of February, and that'll start in late April. And I also have an online product that I'm running a special on for $59.50. They can register on my website, and that's anytime, anywhere. And I offer a free coaching call with that. So that's a good way to start, because it's a primer. You get some real basics, and you can figure out pretty quickly, oh, this is for me, or maybe this isn't for me,
I wrote the book Sales Cred, which I have over my shoulder there, and it's all about sales credibility. And one of the things I really believe is very helpful in establishing your credibility is to be a member of a board. I mean, because it shows that other companies trust you for your opinion and your acumen. But I also see that it also, having that on your profile, it makes people sit up and take notice now. It's like when you speak, more people are more apt to listen. I was like, how much of impact do you see that being a board member actually has on someone's credibility and their impact whenever they speak?
Well, that's a good question. I would say that your credibility comes from, your expertise. So there would be equal, kind of level, but in the business world, it's quite good, because obviously it's a stamp of approval. It's your kind of award. In academics, we get to go on stage and get all these honors. In business, would be the equivalent of that, is what I would say. So it does build credibility, and people do listen to you. And I think that's the other reason why older, seasoned, business people are so well suited, because you're dealing with decision making. You have to have a lot of background and a lot of experiences in a lot of places. And I mean, I'm talking failures. A lot of failures in bringing yourself back up are some of the biggest benefits that you can have when you come to that table and you're trying to solve situations. And I depend on my other directors to bring that. Because we all have different backgrounds. And
it's one of those things that feeds off itself. You need a very high degree of credibility to even get a board position. And then once you had the board position, now you have more credibility. And so it just continues to build and snowball.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does, actually. And there's no age limit, by the way. So you will see, like on the Berkshire Hathaway boards, in some of those companies, those gentlemen are in their 80s. And I say gentlemen because they are all
They're young compared to Warren
age.
Buffett, right?
Right, yeah. I'm a Buffetteer, and so I track that.
Well, this is great. I can't thank you enough. And it's acellc.consulting. And I know that you said that there's like 400 women who signed up during the pandemic. So take advantage of the fact that you can focus if you're working from your home. It might be a good time.
You know, I want to
We
go
need
off.
women.
I want to go off on a tangent a little bit, in a little bit of time that we have left. We're normally a 20-minute show, and so now we get to be a 30-minute show, which is great. You have great experience in gold. And so I wanted to ask you a question about, when's a good time to buy gold and not a good time to buy gold. And then my follow-up question, that's going to be cryptocurrency. Are we seeing more people buying cryptocurrency rather than gold, or supplementing gold, or do the two not go together at all?
Right. Okay. Oh my gosh. You just tapped into
Disclaimer, this is not financial advice she's giving people.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Right. But the best time to buy gold was in 2000 when it was $299 an ounce.
Not now.
It's 1900 something. But there's different ways to participate. So I can tell you what my favorite way is to buy gold is to buy 24 karat gold jewelry.
Oh, jewelry.
24 karat gold jewelry.
Yeah.
Okay. This is called Mene, M-E-N-E. And you can go online and buy this jewelry, and they will buy it back from you at spot less 10%. So it's truly an investment in gold, and you can wear it. It's amazing. It's beautifully designed. I was on their board for a year and a half, so I have to say a disclaimer.
Okay.
But love the deal. So about cryptocurrency, it's a different thing, right? Cryptocurrency doesn't have this is a hard asset, solid thing. You can carry it around. Cryptocurrency is not, although with the blockchain, it is more secure. I can tell you, I have not dabbled in that. There are directors that I know who have just set aside a little bit of money to, kind of play with it. And then there are people who are really adept at it. And I would say the people who are, kind of would by nature be in that category would be more of the risk taker, like gambling, make sure with any of that kind of stuff that it is disposable income and that stuff that you can live without if you lose all of it. I don't go there because to me it's too speculative.
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier in the show about mentorship, and of course, then Michele Ashby would be great as your mentor. But it's what other advice would you give to women, particularly younger women, then, in finding a mentor then who can help them grow and develop and be groomed then for management positions, leadership positions, and eventually board positions? Right.
Don't depend on a mentor to get you anywhere. You've got to show up yourself. So I believe that my motivation and who I showed up and I knew that I was competing based on my intellect and my experience. And so I knew I was smart. So I used that to get smart about whatever it was I was focusing on, like when I was a stockbroker. And then my work ethic, like being there and being motivated. And I think I was identified, and I could have been a man or a woman. I would have been identified by mentors who showed up. So all my mentors were gentlemen and wonderful people throughout my career. So do your work first. Make sure that you are working hard and making a difference yourself. And then these are people who, what I say is they say good things to you about you, like, great job, Audrey, you did awesome on that. And there are also people who will say great things about you in front of other people. So they'll be like, Seeley, Audrey is amazing. She did da 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 da. And then
I hear it frequently.
thirdly, they're the person who will get in the room without you and put your name in the hat when somebody says, do you know somebody who could do this? And I had that happen over and over in my career. And that was, but I worked really hard to get there. And I stood up. I think, what you do, Seeley, is one of the hardest jobs in the world. I think that being good at sales, and I feel like I am because I'm a good storyteller and I love sales. So I applaud both of you for this because these are really incredible skills that I don't know, you would know better to say, can they be learned, or do you just have them, or is it a combination?
It is a combination. Yeah, there definitely is. It's like the way your brain is wired then, and your behavioral tendencies, motivational tendencies, and what you value, then make it, that determines your potential. But then it's like going from high potential to high performance, that requires a lot of work, a lot of skill, and a lot of everything. So yeah, I definitely feel like it's both. Before we close out, there's one thing that, I didn't get to ask yet that I'm really curious about. You advise and mentor a lot of women on getting board positions, obviously. What about minority women? It's like, is it harder for them?
Not now. Actually, there has been a surgence of companies that are looking in particular for Black women since George Floyd. Almost every board request that I see will have that as an option if you have a minority woman. So my group of graduates for my certification course, these are the women that I'm helping place on boards. I have 81 graduates. About 10% of them are minorities, Black, Asian, South American, Latin American, et cetera. And actually I have Eastern European. I have quite a diversity there. But as you said, we're looking for the best of the best, and they are out there. Trust me.
That's terrific news. I'm really happy to hear that.
That's great news.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great, Michele. I want to start to cry because my 20-year-old self is saying, "Why didn't I know you when I could have?" It was all about just trying to find your way and keep the wolves away from the door. There wasn't this long-range thinking and plan that you're planting the seeds of with this show today, and I think it's fantastic.
Well, you know me now, Audrey.
Yeah,
it's never too late. We need women in boardrooms. That's my thing. We need you. We need you. We need you.
She'd be a great one.
Good. Let's get her going.
On our leadership team, she's a very valued member of the team here. So
thanks. We'll talk offline later, Michele.
There's your champion, right?
Always. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michele. What a pleasure. Good luck with the program, and everybody go to the website, sign up, and thanks again. This was great.
Thank you. I'm so appreciative to be your guest. Thank you.